Hey folks, we're back with a new episode of Three Men and an Anime. Hooray! As
Hooray!
usual, I am Peter Bowman, and as always, I'm joined by my good friends and co-hosts, Eric Carlson and Sonic Gav Leaf. How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm a human that exists, as far as you know.
I one day hope to achieve that status.
Aha.
Sorry, Gav. Chatbots from across the sea can't achieve human status.
Oh, I can make sandwiches.
All right, you were slightly better than a chatbot. You can make sandwiches.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in the process of melting, so...
Yeah, it's hot as balls today. Thank God I have life support.
Yeah, like that's the only thing that's making my apartment remotely tolerable. Ugh. At any rate, so this week we are covering Eric's most recent recommendation, which was Psycho-Pass Season 1.
Yes. Not Season 2.
And yes, apparently.
Yes, we're taking Eric's word on it. Psychopath Season 2, not so good.
If it didn't have Season 1 to live up to, it would be perfectly tolerable, but the problem is it's not half as good as Season 1.
Right. So, yeah, Psycho-Pass is, it's a very, it's a very cyberpunk-y show in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. It's very cyberpunk.
Let's get this out of the way nice and quick. There are parts in this show that, when it first started, when we were watching it, I was just thinking, this is Ghost in the Shell, this is Blade Runner. God, I've seen this before. Even the music was keyed off of Ghost in the Shell standalone complex.
Oh, Gav, it's almost as though cyberpunk was a genre.
I understand that, but there were a lot of similarities. Even like I mentioned, and I started looking through it. The closing theme of the first closing theme, at least, borrows the hook basically from the opening theme of Ghost in the Shell standalone complex.
Yeah.
It's very, it's like, yes, we're doing this because it's part of the genre, but it's totally because it was in that as well.
Yeah.
Not to say this is, I'm not saying it straight up.
To be perfectly
I'm not saying
fair,
it's
you
cheap
can't
copy, but
sure, but you can't do anything in the cyberpunk genre without being compared to Blade Runner or Ghost in the Shell. Those are two seminal works in the genre. They made the genre.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like, you can't do space opera without someone going, that's kind of Star Wars.
Yeah, I suppose. A little bit.
At any rate, yeah, so it's, as Eric pointed out, and as the show itself is very aware of, it is really, really Philip K. Dicky.
It is totally a Philip K. Dick move.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it is. So, at any rate, Eric, why don't you explain the basic premise of the show? Since it's your choice.
So the basic premise of the show is that Japan has developed a technology that allows that allows them to figure out someone's general mental health with a quick scan. This is referred to as their Psycho-Pass and is generally color-coded. While they never explain the color code, it becomes pretty clear that the lighter and cooler the color, the better off you are.
Also, the clearer the color, I think, but they usually refer to if you're starting to stray, your path becomes cloudy.
Right. Or darker, or what have you. Yeah. And it basically follows a group of law enforcement individuals whose job it is to track down latent criminals, who are people whose psychopaths have gone to the point where they are most likely to commit crimes, and therefore need to be brought in for treatment and or incarceration.
Yeah,
bit of a Minority Report pre-crime deal going on there. Just a bit. And the enforcement teams are split into two. You have investigators and you have enforcers. Enforcers are all latent criminals that have been dragooned into the what's it called? The Ministry of something.
It's an awkward name. They keep referring to it by the acronym.
Yeah.
they're just a random jumble of letters.
Ministry of Welfare and Public Safety. Ministry of Welfare and Public Safety,
NWPPS,
Bureau
not-
of Criminal Investigation Department. Jeez,
Yeah.
that's a mouthful.
Yeah. They're the cops. Let's just...
They're the cops.
Essentially, yeah. The system is designed so that regular police aren't needed. The only time they're
Right.
needed are when, like I say, somebody who is going to become a latent criminal is detected, at which point the investigator is dispatched and the enforcers are dispatched on the investigator's say-so.
Right.
Because basically the investigators are people who are like, yep, you're going to be a bad guy. We're going to lock you up.
Yes.
Well, no,
Bring you in for treatment. There is an earnest, at least in the central cast, an earnest thought that these people need to be brought into treatment so that they become more mentally healthy and can be reintroduced into society.
Yeah.
Particularly with the main character, Akane Tsunemori, who was awesome.
Mm-hmm. But essentially, they essentially just use the enforcers as their psychopaths are already beyond help, but they're still socially functioning people. So It doesn't matter if we get them to do some nasty stuff.
They're the investigators' proxies for doing unpleasant things, so the investigators don't fuck up their own hues.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a great utopian little dystopia they have going on here.
Yes. It is very, very much a dystopia that does an incredibly good job at looking like a utopia on the surface, especially to the people living within it.
Yes. Because of the advancements in psychological stuff and the somatic scan, which is what lets them read people's hues, you can pretty much figure out what they're best at, what someone is best at as they go along in life, shunt them into those fields, and anyone in need of mental health has free health care should they decide it. It sounds great until you realize things like there's approved art and music. There's actually an epidemic of people who just are so not stressed out that they will actually just shut down and die.
Yeah. And it's very clear that the citizens who are living here, while they are quote happy, they really are just cogs in a machine.
Yes.
It's very much one of those, you've lived in it so long that you don't question it. It's almost like the Logan's Run theory. It's like, you don't complain about the system until you become too old. And suddenly it turns against you.
And there's very little self-determination. Akane, our main protagonist here, is the girl on the right there, is unique in that she tested high enough in her aptitudes, she can pretty much do whatever she wants. And chose the alphabet soup ministry. And starts out as a rookie, and her first job's a fucking mess in that she shows up for work, gets told, okay, meet the senior inspector here, Ginzo, and he'll give you the lowdown. She shows up, and he's like, okay, so sorry you've got a really bad job today, but we have a latent criminal who's taken a hostage. We need to deploy the enforcers to take him out and rescue the hostage. And shit goes to fuck all.
Yeah.
And it's basically where it does, the first episode does a good job of establishing what both the investigators and the enforcers' roles are. Introduces us to the main enforcer protagonist, Ko, the guy on the left. And so in the course of the investigation, we see of the hostage situation, the said latent criminal continues to go crazier because he does not want to get taken in and get locked up in what is likely to be for the rest of his life.
It becomes clear that this system also takes into account not just the latent potential criminology, but actual in the moment stress that can push people over that limit, and obviously this guy's getting worse and worse and worse.
And he's taking the hostage with him. It also introduces us to the main tool of our protagonist, the Dominator, which is the big fuck-off guns they're carrying.
Lawmaster!
The Dominator is actually pretty interesting in that it will take an instantaneous detailed scan of the person, determine whether or not they are safe and don't need enforcement, in which case the gun will lock. Or a latent criminal and need to be shot with the quote paralyzer mode, which knocks them out so they can be brought in for treatment. Or if they're too far gone or a danger to themselves and others, in which case it just fucking explodes them.
Yep.
Well, it's weird. It like has many multiple settings we discover that just on its own whim decide, I'm going to kill this guy this way. The first one we see, the guy gets hit and he just... Well, he actually takes one in the arm, doesn't he, first?
Yeah, and his arm, like, explodes into blood mist.
Just inflates, like, Akira style, and just pops.
Yep. We also see that it's got something for dealing with hacked drones.
Yeah, it's got an obliterator sort of, like, just annihilates whatever it hits. There's another one that's decomposing, which basically removes, just... dissolves the body. It's a weird gun.
The decomposer is the one that's used on inorganic material. That's the annihilation sphere.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
And in the first episode, we learn a lot about both Ko, Ginzo, and Akane, and their basic setups. In the Ko obsesses over chasing over this guy, taking unnecessary risks to do so. He just wants to bring the guy down. Akane is trying to resolve it as peacefully as possible. And Ginzo just wants to follow the letter of the fucking law.
Yeah, Akane is the rookie, the wide-eyed rookie. So
she's the wide-eyed rookie and the one most capable of empathy and compassion.
Yeah. So these grizzled, long-standing veterans, they're just there. We were introduced quite quickly to the point where they've gotten to the point in this career where they just literally point the Dominator, see the result, pull the trigger.
Yep.
That's all they do. They don't make a decision on their own. They chase a guy down, let the Dominator judge him, and pull the trigger accordingly. And Akane is the first one that that we've seen that then comes in and says, "Well, hang on. Do you not take the situation into account?"
Right,
what situation?
Because Ko takes out the whatchamacallit, the
actual bad guy. Yeah.
And then is going to take out the hostage because her psychopath is crazy. She needs to be needs to be brought in for treatment. So we hit her with the paralyzer. She's like, "No, don't do that. Fuck you," and shoots him. At which point she freaks out more, and she's not Akane obviously, but the hostage freaks out more, and her psychopath jumps into the high 300s, which means she's a target for summary execution.
Yeah. Well, take into account before Ko took out the perp, he'd actually just like thrown on the floor half naked and doused her in petrol.
Yes.
So she's freaked the fuck out.
She's freaked the fuck out. The perp was going to torch them both.
Yeah.
And the poor hostage is sitting there completely freaked out, in her underwear because this asshole stripped her, holding a Zippo doused in gasoline, and Ko is just going to pop her. And Akane manages to talk her down back into the just paralyzer mode. In which case Ginzo shows up, levers his Dominator, or pops her. Fuck it. She needed to be brought in. Fuck it. Doesn't matter. Particulars don't matter. Sybil said so. Sybil being the supercomputer that actually does all of these scans and makes these judgments.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into an episode by episode thing because
no.
There are a lot. But I'm more interested in talking about the characters and the overarching themes in the show. Because
absolutely.
So Akane is unique in that things don't stick to her psychologically. She recovers very quickly from trauma. Ko is clearly obsessive and has a bit of the super cop mentality. A bit of the super cop.
In the first like 5 or so episodes, I was referring to him as what was it? Something like badass MacGuffin.
Yes.
He was one of those guys that that you just see in a series that just does anything. He's super fit, super athletic, super intelligent, handsome, all this shit. Should be the protagonist in and of himself. But, should be like a model person, but he's too much of a bad boy. So he went to the dark side, but he still works for the light. So if I'm going to say,
but we quickly see that his big weakness is that he is obsessive. He obsesses over things. He can't let shit go at all. And we see that in the pursuit of the various cases they run into. Like as long as he gets results, he does not give a fuck, including putting himself and everyone else in danger. It's a clear and obvious flaw.
Yes.
He is at most usually quite careful when it comes to especially Akane. If he knows it's like a dangerous situation, it'll be like, okay, you wait here, I'll go in and call you if it's clear.
Right.
He does his job as the proxy fairly well.
He does his job because he has to, otherwise he goes back for treatment.
Then his shit hits the fan, and then it's like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I'd agree with that. He's definitely got the obsessive. He's definitely an obsessive, and yeah, Gav, you're right that he sort of ticks a lot of boxes as the perfect guy in a lot of ways. Perfect character.
A bit of a Gary Stu kind of deal.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Except that it's also very clear that he's outmatched in a lot of categories by a lot of people he runs into.
Yep.
Like, it seems that way at first. Like, especially, like, you see him, like, yeah, he's a super badass martial artist. But the thing is, almost every time he gets into a martial arts fight with someone who's actually, like, in a hand-to-hand combat with, so any of the major antagonists who are even remotely physical threats, they kick his ass.
Yep. Yeah, he's one of those, like I've said, this is why it's only in the first few episodes.
Right.
Like first 5 or 6 episodes. When you see him taking on street level perps and, training in the gym and smoking with his shirt off and all this sort of shit. It's the sort of stuff that they get, he's a gym bunny.
Yep.
In that regard. He goes in and does all the forms and all the rest of it. When it comes to a real fight, he can't do it for shit. Well, I mean, he just turns into a brawl.
Yeah. Oh, the thing is, yeah. Exactly. Well, the thing is, there's a lot of stuff. Like, there are a lot of things that you look at him. You can draw parallels to other characters who are similar to him. But like in terms of
Deckard in there, and that he ends up hunting people much stronger and better at their jobs than he is.
Yes. And there are definitely parallels to Deckard. There are parallels to other sort of anime leads in other series, in other genres. Like, you can draw some parallels between, like, say, him and Spike Spiegel.
Yeah. Yep.
Except, he's definitely smarter than Spike.
Well, it's not hard to be smarter than Spike.
I mean, he's a detective, and and that's one thing we find out fairly quickly is that he was an inspector until, shit went really bad, and he just started obsessing over this particular perp.
Yeah. Right. And this particular case is what pushed him over.
Right.
A particularly grisly case involving flayed corpses and plastinization in darkly humorous ways. I really like that story arc.
I'm shocked, Eric. Shocked to hear you say that.
Hey, look, it's Gunther von Hagen gone wrong.
Yeah. That's another thing I do want to mention. The show does get fairly gory at parts.
Yes.
The thing is, it uses it very well, and
it's not gratuitous for the sake of it.
Yeah, it's never just a shock.
No, it's to reinforce what's going on.
Exactly.
Like the aforementioned plastinization sculptures. They don't show you the process of what's going on or how the the perp does it. They don't even really show you the sculptures. They just show you enough to let you know that it's bad.
Yeah,
They don't show you that perp sculptures.
Right.
We see the second perp who does something similar ones.
Right. Because she's not nearly as good at it, because she's a copycat.
The thing with it is, they're clever with that one, though, because they tone it down with that particular case, because it's like, yeah, it's a really horrible, grisly scene, but it's a human body that's basically been turned into a mannequin. So you get this moment where the people that discover it are like, oh, wow, that's weird. Wow, that looks kind of real, doesn't it? And it's not until they get right up to it that they realize it is. So you could quite happily look at that for quite some time and think, yeah, that's just a sculpture.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that the person in question is an art student, the perp in this case.
Yeah, this isn't spoilers, it's all pretty much fairly obvious.
Oh, yeah,
they lay it right out there.
Yeah,
and
they lay it
the
right
fact
out.
that she's
in a lot of the
largely
cases,
a copycat and is lacks any of the humor or commentary of the original perp, which is how they figure out it's a copycat.
Right.
In a lot of the cases, what they'll do is they tell the audience the whole story, more or less, and then they just watch how the police figure it out along the way.
Yep.
Which is
fine, because it gives us plenty of time with the perps to learn how they've deviated from society and what's driven them to this point.
Right.
In the art student's case, she's just batshit insane bitch who was given the opportunity to pursue her darkest impulses by these main series antagonists, Makishima.
Yeah.
Who I want to talk about because he raises a lot of interesting questions.
Oh,
actually.
lordy, does he raise questions.
So the whole thing with the civil system is that it scans your I think they say it basically scans your bioelectrical field and figures this stuff out and figures out what it needs to about you.
This is how it reads your psychopaths.
This is how it reads your psychopaths.
Yep.
And it's pretty infallible, and the society as a whole functions entirely as it is because of the 100% faith the society has in it.
Right.
Makishima's psychopath doesn't change, or it does, but he seems to be able to shift it at will, so he never reaches the danger zone.
Yeah, basically, whatever sort of horrible, dark impulses he doesn't seem to have any impact on his criminal coefficient, I think is the term they use for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
His psychopath is always sort of a clear white, and his criminal coefficient never seems to raise above 30.
Yeah, it's kind of like the way I rationalized it in my head. It's like guys like Hannibal Lecter. It's the cold, crime. The crimes that we've seen so far are crimes of passion and anger and emotion and all the rest of it. And these guys are cold, not emotionless.
Well,
but
Makishima's a textbook sociopath.
Yeah, it's sociopathic. It's run on intellect,
right?
And there's no. It's all calm. It's all.
He's very charming. He's very witty and intelligent. He's very good at manipulating people. He has no sense of compassion or empathy, and uses people for his own ends remorselessly. He's a textbook sociopath. Yeah,
but it's that whole thing. It's like he would be no more moved in his own psychopath, no more moved from killing someone than he would from eating a steak.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it really does seem that most of his sort of, darker, more criminal sort of things, his sort of those sort of things, for him, that just seems to be normalcy.
Right.
And in sort of, and honestly, and what he often says is, his big problem, the civil system is abnormal and it's the problem, not him, in a large way. And I think that's part of the reason it can't read him. I mean, it's never ever said outright why the system can't read his criminal coefficient properly.
Then he is one of a very small percentage of people who are kept absolutely secret that are not referred to as criminally asymptomatic.
Right. There's
People are not allowed to know that these people exist.
Right, because if people knew they existed, that would put a chink in people's faith in the civil system, which literally, as Eric said, the only reason the system works is everyone has complete faith that it is infallible.
Right, and it's the civil system's hold on society is absolute but incredibly brittle, and we see it shatter a couple times.
Yes.
Makishima developed, with the help of a hacker friend of his, develops a helmet that basically spoofs people's psychopaths. It reads the psychopaths to the lowest person within a certain radius and sends that to the scanners. He then distributes these to the criminal underworld for what it is, and shit just hits the fan. Because once people realize that you can get these helmets, they start either seeking them out or attacking anyone that is wearing them, or anyone that might possibly look like a criminal. And there are riots and fires, and everything goes to hell, which is all part of the plan, obviously.
Right, because the normal people are backed into a corner by the being targeted by these, because a lot of these criminals are targeting the people who are doing well by the civil system. Because there's a large number of these people who are feel like they're on the bottom of the totem pole because they're latent criminals. They've gotten
not even just latent criminals. That's just people who didn't test into the thing into what they wanted to be.
But there are even latent criminals who got the treatment and are not being imprisoned, but they can't get any real sort of use. They're still scum.
Right.
They're still the bottom of the
huge stigma there.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. So Sybil, I mean, I don't know if we mentioned, but Sybil, basically everyone leaving school, on graduation, they're given a score, and it's these are what jobs you're going to be good at.
Right.
And it's okay for people like Akane who get she can literally do anything she wants. Some people are bottom of the totem pole. Some people just get straight up, you're going to be a criminal. You're going to, a wagon will be along shortly.
One of the enforcers on the team, he got picked up when he was 5 as a latent criminal. He never had a chance.
Yep.
And he's another illustration of the injustices of the civil system. He never did anything wrong. He never had a chance to do anything wrong. They just picked him up when he was a kid, ripped him from his parents, put him in state custody, and raised him in what amounts to a mental institution. And you see a general childishness with this character. His workstation in the office is covered in toys. He refuses to take anything terribly seriously. He's constantly back-talking his superiors even when it's not a good idea, but never crosses the line. He knows exactly how far he can get away with.
Yep.
And he never had a chance to grow up or make anything of himself. It's just from age 5 on, he ward of the state. Welcome to the mental institution.
Yeah, and what was his name? Oh God, what was his name again? Shoot, that was it started with a K. Kagane?
Kagari.
Kagari. Yeah, Kagari.
Kagari.
We should probably talk about the other enforcers because they're all actually really interesting characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the thing. So when you've got a society where everyone behaves themselves, it's these outcasts, so to speak, that are actually where a lot of the interesting stuff comes.
Yep.
And their influence on those around them.
Yeah, like Kagari. Like I said, Kagari's one of the. He never had a chance, basically.
Yeah.
We talked about Ko. Ko used to be an inspector, saw too much shit, and ended up becoming an enforcer as a result.
I can't remember their names. Shoot.
Yaoi Kunizuka.
Kunizuka, yeah.
Kunizuka. She used to be a rock star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She used to be a rock star, and the civil system doesn't like it if your rock music gets too awesome. for lack of a better term.
Basically, what happened with her is that she stumbled across another, rock star, another woman who was doing rock and roll, doing sort of similar style music, who wasn't, she was not, her music wasn't approved.
Right.
And she became infatuated with her music and with her. I mean, it's very clear that, she fell in love with the woman.
Yes. No, that is obvious.
And, this led to her psychopath deteriorating and being brought into the institution.
Where it never improved because she wasn't allowed to play music because the doctors are like, well, that's clearly the result of your damaged cues, so you're not allowed to play music. But I'm a guitarist. It's how I deal with shit. Let me have my guitar. And she gets recruited as an enforcer, where she's actually, and her first job is actually to try to bring in her old friend, who it turns out is part of a kind of pathetic resistance cell.
Yeah. It's like, and it's another one of the groups, like many people who throughout the series point out all the flaws with the civil system and why something's got to be done about it, and then have terrible, terrible ways of handling the system.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. It's like if the punk rock music happened with the new metal.
Well, no, there's a large. It's sort of similar to, in some ways, that unsurprisingly, like every sort of genre of music has its own sort of subsects, and punk was largely this originally the old school punk was largely sort of both sort of anarchistic, but at the same time a lot about equality and egalitarianism and unification. But there were subsets of the punk sort of subculture who drifted into really fucking stupid shit. Looking at you, skinheads. Yeah. Looking at you.
Yeah, looking at the skinheads.
Yeah. We're into anarchy and the Nazis. Wait, what?
Those two don't go together, shithead.
Like this girl's group was sort of like that, except at levels of complete contradiction in desires and goals and methodologies. Right. It's just like, oh my fucking god!
Throw Molotov cocktails at the scanners and then run away. Ha ha ha! That doesn't solve the problem. That doesn't do anything for the problem. That just blows up scanners.
Look, just
it's cathartic. Destruction of public property is cathartic. Not gonna lie, but
it doesn't help anything.
Yeah, it
actually makes the problem worse.
Right.
Yeah, it's basically a bunch of malcontents grumbling in their own little private club, not actually doing anything about it until somebody crazy along comes on and inspires them to start doing something about it. But it's only the little shit.
But she's a great character. She doesn't get nearly enough screen time in my personal opinion.
No.
The bits she gets are fantastic. She's great when she gets her moments to shine.
She's very she was clearly very before she joined the Enforcers was clearly very outgoing and outspoken, but she's now a complete introvert. She's more than happy to fade in the background and just do her job.
And yet she's very competent in everything she does.
Yes.
And
it's an interesting personality shift because you see that one flashback episode, and she's outgoing and outspoken and charming and all that other shit. And every time you see her now, she's just cold, detached, and wants nothing more than to fade into the woodwork.
She lets little chunks of herself leak through every now and then.
Yep.
But usually not, and she's very reserved.
Yes.
But there are a couple moments where she lets little bits of her former passion leak through, and there's towards the end of the season when she basically has she's working together directly with Akane, and she basically says, when you first came in, I thought you were a wide-eyed rookie, totally super naive, and we're not cut out for this job. God, I was wrong.
She did very much come across as a wide-eyed rookie.
Yes, and she was a wide-eyed rookie and was very much naive. boy was she, but she was this line of reasoning was entirely correct. It's like, yes, you did not look like you were cut out for this job. Okay, you were. You're really good at what you do.
Right.
But I love her reaction is, entirely like, yeah, I am more than happy to be your right hand and follow you into hell, basically.
Yeah.
And Akane's reaction is, wow, you overestimate me now.
Yeah, Akane is never anything but humble about her own abilities. Right. But
I mean, because again,
she's very good at her job.
Because by the end of the series, Akane has grown into she's legitimately a phenomenal detective.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's she and Ko are the ones that basically put together Makishima's
right
plot. And Ko goes off like the rogue cop that he is.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is for a while before she fully grows into her true sort of, she fully embraces her analytical abilities, she has this knack for every now and then asking these just amazing armor-piercing questions.
Yep.
That just utterly, Ko's sitting there stumped by something. She asks a question, Ko goes, oh, fuck, you're right.
Yeah, like, for example, with the helmet riots, she's the first one to go, so why? What? What's the point of these helmet riots? They're there to cover something up.
And Ko's like, fuck, you're right.
Yeah. Because, again, like I said, these guys have just been doing it by the book. They go, step 1, step 2, point gun, fire, if it says so. That's all they do. They just follow the book. They're utterly predictable. And she's the first one that seems to have come along and actually says why. About anything.
Part of that is because the civil system, punishes self-determination and initiative. It does not want that, because then people might start questioning it.
Yeah. The problem is for that is that Akane is exceptionally well-centered.
Yes.
So she just doesn't, even though she can be individual and all this stuff, but it shouldn't. There's a scene where she's getting really in depth and delving into shit and trying to find out what's going on and starting to obsess, and they're starting to get worried about her. So she's like, "Well, point the gun at me and see what it says." Okay. Points the gun. It's 52. Oh,
it was even lower than that. It was
It was in the 30s.
Or something. Yeah, it was in the 30s. It's you've got to be in the 150s before you even in paralyzer mode.
They're like, what? She's like,
I think it's 100 actually for paralyzer mode. Right. But yeah.
But yeah,
anyway, it's oh, okay.
Yeah, there's she volunteered. She's the first person to get a remotely a view of Makishima. They'd never had a picture of him.
Yep.
So she volunteers to basically have her memories, scooped. To go through.
Where she has to relive the particularly traumatic moment where she watches Makishima murder her friend.
Right in front of her,
which she can't do anything about because she's just has the Dominator.
And it refuses to acknowledge him as a criminal.
Right.
Though he did throw her a shotgun and basically said, yeah, go ahead and kill me if you have to, and she couldn't do it because she's not wired that way.
Well, she did try. It's just she's a terrible shot with a shotgun.
Well,
and it was a big, long double-barreled, and she was trying to do it one-handed while holding the Dominator.
Yeah.
I'm surprised she didn't break a fucking wrist.
Yeah, no shit.
So, but at any rate, it's this process, and they're everyone's warning her, look, no, this could ruin your psychopaths. It could, it's nobody comes out of this the same. It's awful. And she's like, we got to do it. Someone has to do this. This is the only way we're ever going to catch this asshole. Though she would never use that term.
Right. Well, she's too polite.
Right. But she goes through the thing, and she gets the memory, and they pull her out because she's being stressed, and then they look at her psychopaths, and they're like, "The hell, you're at 57." She's like,
Well, that's the thing. During the scoop, they're watching they're watching her pass, and it's starting to spike. It gets to 90 something. Okay, pull the plug. Okay, so you should probably go into therapy to get things back down. And nope, never mind. You're back in the 50s.
Yeah, it just drops. She just recenters on her own, and she's that was okay. I'm feeling much better now. Hang on a second. Pukes.
Blarg.
Yeah. And she's like, okay. Oh, I feel better now. I feel awful, but it's better now. And they're like, what?
Yeah, she just doesn't absorb stress in any situation, really.
Right. And that's basically a superpower. It's a superpower.
In this world, it is, yeah.
In this world, it's a superpower.
And it starts freaking her out. She's like, "What am I, a fucking robot?"
What if I'm just like Makishima? She's clearly not like Makishima,
No.
but it's a question to be asked.
Right. And she's talking about that with their computer specialist, who's also a latent criminal.
Yep.
And who is in something of a sort of relationship with what's her name?
Kunizika.
Kunizika.
It began with a K. They both begin with a K.
Right. But yeah,
The blonde and the brunette.
They're in a relationship. Might be a strong word for it. They're sleeping together.
Honestly, I think they just fuck.
Yeah, really, I think that's what it is.
To be fair, what's the data specialist name again?
Kanamori?
Is it?
I think something like that.
I can't find the list of names for some reason.
Hold on. To the Wikipedia.
I'm on the Wikipedia. It doesn't have
Kanamori.
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 Shinon Kanamori.
Yeah, let's face it. Kanamori would sleep with anyone if they gave her the chance.
Yes.
Oh,
she flirts with everyone.
Yeah.
She does it because she's bored.
Well, no, I think she's genuinely just one of her things is that I think she's just she's very clearly bisexual, at least.
Yeah.
And she's also very clearly just very. I don't think she's a latent criminal. I think she's pretty much just not interested in actual sort of emotional relationships, but she's very
no.
Very much a
right.
sexual
Yeah, I don't
being.
mean that in like just promiscuous sort of way. It's more of a case of she's very flirty and enjoys that as a bit of fun.
Oh, and she
but then
clearly
when it gets a bit too far, she doesn't back down from it.
Right.
She very clearly it's very clear that she actually likes most of the people she's flirting with.
Yes.
It's not a case of like it's not just like baha, I'm doing it just because I want to have sex with you. She's doing it because she's having fun and enjoys the people, enjoys flirting with them. Like she has a little bit of banter with Cohen. His reaction is, "Yeah, I don't think we're each other's type." She's like, "Yeah, you're probably right."
Yeah, pretty much the only one she doesn't flirt with is Ginoza.
No, she doesn't flirt
because he's
either,
a giant stick in the ass.
Oh, she doesn't really flirt with either Ginoza or Akane, really.
That's true.
Well,
they're both because they're both inspectors.
Right,
they're both inspectors, and
that's why.
I also think it's more that the Ginoza's like you say, he's got a stick in his ass. He's no fun, and Akane's the new kid in the group. So she takes on a fairly maternal kind of role with her.
It's almost big sisterly, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But no, it's very clear she becomes very fond of Akane, and like Akane has that thing where she talks in front of her about like her freaking. She's like, no, you very clearly have a heart, and you very clearly are not a robot. No, sweetie, no.
It's okay, hon. The fact that you're even asking that question, it proves that you're not.
Yeah. It's I love that little scene. It's actually a very sweet little scene.
Yeah.
And again, it's another one of those Akane proving that she is fucking awesome because she's asking the question.
Something not enough people do in this world.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Is like, people, yeah.
Where was it? Oh, right. There's Pops, the old vet with the cyber arm.
Yes.
Yes.
He is great. I adore him.
Pops is great. Pops became a latent criminal simply because he was too good of a detective.
Yeah.
He was really good at profiling and getting into the criminals' heads, and since he could do that, that made, as far as Sybil was concerned, made him a latent criminal. Even though he has no inclination to do these things, or he's really just doing it to solve the crimes. But that doesn't matter as far as Sybil is concerned.
I mean, also there's just the fact that the system has basically made him irrelevant, and that that made his actual,
like I say, he's an old. Go on.
It made his particular what he's good at, his skill set, irrelevant because you just point the Dominator at someone to scan them, and you know if they're a criminal. And
right.
like it's like, but what's the point then?
Yeah, and that's the. And he does have a fair amount of bitterness, more than a fair amount of bitterness about that.
Yes.
That he doesn't let on. That only shows through a couple times.
Right. And he's very much he's very fatherly towards Akane for a good chunk of the show.
For the entire cast, honestly.
Yeah, well, yes, and there's a reason for that, we find out.
Because he's actually Kinoza's father.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do a good job with that, because we learn quite early on that Ginozo's... he says that, he watched his partner and his father both go down that path and end up being latent criminals he doesn't want to follow. We then realised that, completely out of the blue, for me at least, we then realised that his partner was Ko and his dad's Makosa.
Yep.
He works with both of them.
That's gotta be a lot. And the thing is that it completely explains why he's so uncomfortable with that possibility.
Yeah.
And why he's abjectly terrified of seeing Akane go down the same path.
To the point where he actually starts going down that path while trying to avoid it. He actually gets pulled down that path as a result.
Right. And it's largely due to the fact that, it's because,
It's a good arc that he has because of it. Because his whole point is that it's not that he hates his father and his partner, but he can't understand their decisions that would lead them to be criminals. They were supposed to be detectives. They were supposed to be doing their job and not letting it get to them. And just and he could not understand it. And it's only at the point where he's actually going down that path himself without even realizing it, getting to the point where the psychiatrist is saying, "Yeah, you kind of need to come in for treatment now," and he's like, "Yeah, I'll do it when I close this case.
I'll sleep when I'm dead," kind of deal.
Yeah,
and the thing is, he realizes what's happening at that point.
Right.
But the other thing is, the other big thing that bothers him is, and he says it is, they've left him behind.
Yeah. And it's a bit deeper than that between him and Pops, because there, like I said, there's a stigma against latent criminals, and the stigma extends to their family. He had a really shitty childhood because his father was a latent criminal.
Right.
And he partially blames him for that.
Right.
As little sense as that makes, but, family rarely makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. And that covers the Enforcers and, our main cast. The only person we haven't talked about yet, in terms of the Bureau side of things, is the Chief.
Right.
Who is a colossal bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like using that word, but it is so appropriate for this woman.
Yeah.
She is a hateful, hateful individual.
She's cold, calculating, has no interest in what's right, just in what's upholding the system. She will happily lay the blame at the feet of whoever, regardless of whether or not they deserve it, as long as it gets the system out from under scrutiny. Like, she's the system's avatar and defender, literally.
Yes. Yeah, there's a little bit of a reveal with her, which we'll get into a bit later.
Right.
So, yeah. But yeah, and, she's constantly...
She's
as much as an obstacle as she is an enabler with the...
She's more of an obstacle than anything else.
She's your stereotypical bureaucrat. It's like you don't really get the we don't find out why until later, but it's quite clear that she's basically being an ass, denying requests, retasking the different teams to do different things when they really should be doing something else. It's quite obvious that she's hindering whatever they're trying to do in the most legal and assisting way possible.
Yep. I mean, and she's a large source of Gino's stress, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, there's a significant portion of that. Like, if it wasn't for the way she was handling things with him, he wouldn't be sliding down the path he was.
Right. Because she's using largely as the patsy for her own manipulations.
Yeah. They're having trouble bringing in Makishima, and it's like, okay, well, Ko's onto a lead. He's pretty much got this guy's, number. He's got him tracked down, and we're going to follow up on that. And then, obviously, we're going to move in and do this. And the Chief's like, okay, well, Ko's too close to this case because he's obsessive, so I want him off the case. And also, half of your team need to go and investigate something else, which I say is more important than the guy that's immune to Sybil.
Right.
And it's like, what?
Also, you can't tell them about this guy. You're not allowed to tell them what's going on.
Yeah.
Make up something, but you can't tell him that he's criminally asymmetric.
Yeah, no one can find out that Sybil doesn't work.
You shouldn't know, but I need someone on point here, and that's you. Congratulations.
Yeah. But she comes up with, like, I say valid, with massive air quotes, reasons. Like, yeah, there are points where Ko is getting obsessive and, over the top. But at the end of the day, he's obsessing to do his job. He's not actually doing anything to put anybody at risk. But she jumps to the end of that chain and says, okay, he's obviously going to put people at risk, so take him off.
And it's and one of the people he's going to put at risk is Makishima.
Which we find out is the whole point, yeah.
Yes. We'll get to that in a bit. But, so, yeah, and so that's the main cast. I mean, Makishima, as we've covered basically all the main characters.
Mm.
And there's Makishima's hacker buddy, who is actually really interesting for the little bit of screen time he gets. He's a foreigner who's come to Japan and is just fascinated by it, even if he thinks it's like one of the worst things he's ever seen.
Yeah, he's like, this is like crazy dystopia, and you all just accept it, and that's really interesting, and I want to learn why.
Right, and he's like, this is like he and Makishima have this wonderful conversation where he basically brings up this is just like something right out of Gibson.
Yes. Yeah, we Peter and I had this conversation right before an episode. The episode starts as Makishima and his hacker guy going, so this is a pretty fucked up society. Yeah, it really is. Kind of Orwell. No, it's not as heavy-handed as Orwell. Maybe more like Gibson? No, it's too well to be Gibson.
Philip K. Dick.
It's totally Philip K. Dick. I haven't read Dick. Oh, you should totally read 200 Stream of Electric Sheep. Isn't that the basis of the old Blade Runner movie? Yeah, but they changed a lot of things. You should read the original.
This was close to word for word the conversation Eric and I had before this episode, except that we both read Android Stream of Electric Sheep. That's literally the only part that we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
Because we both read the short story. Or novella, I guess.
No, I had seen this show, but completely forgotten about that conversation. So
it's like, well, it's not Orwell because it's not heavy-handed enough. It's almost Gibson, but not quite. No, it's really Philip K. Dick. Yeah, definitely Philip K. Dick. Literally, we had that right before watching that episode. Yes. It was amazing.
It's always a sign of a well-written show when they actually get in your head.
Yes. Absolutely.
All right. I think we've gotten to the point where we have to sort of talk about major series spoilers now.
Yes.
Right.
I would like to say that's popped up in the chat there from is it Fourth Aid? That's actually a fairly good point. In most shows like this, I mean, it doesn't really work with cyberpunk, because cyberpunk generally takes the angle of the society to a degree.
No, only in anime, honestly.
Well, in anime, okay. Well, no, Blade Runner is
read
more,
anything from Gibson. It's always from the point of view of the outsider. It would be from the point of view of Makishima.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, it's even like Blade Runner. It's with the story is with the police. Ghost in the Shell. It's with the Section 9. It's the ones trying to bring order to the world. Whereas in most anime, then this would be the other way around. This would be Makishima's story. This would be bringing down the corrupt system.
I think if this were a Western show, absolutely.
Mm.
If this is an American show, it would be centered around Makishima trying to tear down the system. And probably even using a lot of the reprehensible things he does, but casting much more of a 24 Jason Bauer type of light, where it's the ends justify the means kind of deal.
Mm.
It depends on who's writing it again.
Yeah. Frank Miller and Makishima would actually be like the worst thing ever.
No. Well, no, Frank Miller wouldn't fucking write that story.
That's true. It's not heavy-handed enough for Frank Miller.
No.
Yeah.
There's not nearly enough sex.
And it's got a female lead that isn't either a
Doesn't get
man-hater
naked.
or just there for Ko to put his dick in. All right, enough knocking on Frank Miller.
It's so
Oh,
easy.
It's fun.
It's so easy.
He really is.
At any rate, so yeah, we get to the point where Makishima. So after the whole riots thing, we find out that Makishima is basically his plan, and this is what Ko and Akane figure out: is okay. The riots are basically pulling the entire police department away from somewhere. Where are no riots happening? And where are there no cops? Okay, it's the ministry building. Oh, fuck. There's nobody. We have to go there. It's clearly where he's headed. And so they head there. And we get to see from, Makishima and his hacker buddy's point of view exactly why they're going there. Because they're like, yeah, the Sybil system is... The hacker's like, the Sybil system is just fucking impossible.
Yeah, they're as they're traveling there, he's like, it's impossible. I don't care what kind of crazy quantum computing you have, you can't run these kinds of calculations this quickly on this large a scale. We don't have the tech. Even if you guys are decades ahead of the rest of the world in this, you don't have the tech.
Yeah.
So what the hell's
need,
going on?
Is it about like you need a server farm like half the size of the city?
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, literally this tower is literally the only place it could be, and, that there could be, like, he's been tracking the way the Sybil Systems network runs by, by all this sort of checking bandwidth moves and such. Is everything runs at some point.
Bandwidth, power usage, all that stuff.
It all runs through this tower at some point.
Yeah, every single decision that Sybil makes, in the data stream, in the flow chart, every single piece of information that Sybil, every decision it makes, at some point goes through this building.
Right. So, and his working assumption is that it's a hub, but it's not the actual central core of it. That was his.
But we can find the core if we go to the hub and backtrace from there. So that's my cunning plan.
We're gonna go. We have to go to the tower. We have to get into this in here. Makshima's like, sweet, awesome, this is great, because I want to bring the system
all
down.
for this.
I want to bring the system down because
But then on top of that, he looks into it. He's looking into it further, and he reveals also. Oh, by the way, I also found the blueprints of the building.
Yeah, the basement doesn't go down below floor. The official statement that says the basement only goes down 4 floors. Looking at the original blueprints and the original construction things, it had 20 floors of basements. The fuck.
Yeah, fucking 16 floors have just vanished.
Right. So what we're looking for is either at the top or down at the bottom.
So the hacker goes down and Makishima goes up. Makishima also goes up because he figures out that Ko is chasing him. He's like, Ko's coming after me. I'm going up there. He'll follow me. How can you be sure? Because it's Ko.
I know how he operates now. Because he's now interacted with him, finally, at this point.
Yeah, they've had a brief conversation. It's all Makishima really needed.
And so, so Ko, Akane, and, what's his name?
The redhead.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. I never remember his name. Starts with a K again.
Kagari,
yeah.
Kagari, yeah.
They arrive, and basically, okay, Ko and Akane go up to chase Makishima. Kagari, you go down, and if you stay on the phone on comm with Shion, and she'll be there to back you up in terms with her lead computer skills, because dear God, that woman is good with computers.
Right. And if it gets to be too much, just let us know and hold out. We'll come help you out.
Yeah, it turns out that he loses communications after the 4th basement.
Yeah.
Because the thing is radio shielded, because of course it is.
They send Kagari that way because Kagari's not a risk taker. He feels no loyalty to the Sybil system. He's like, sure, yeah, if it gets to be too hot, I will totally hang out and wait for you guys. Let you take the heat. Because fuck the Sybil system.
Right. That totally reasonable.
Yeah, it stole his life, literally.
Right. And so, and unfortunately for him, it turns out that it's radio shielded after the fourth basement. Oops. So Shion's like, Kagari, where are you? God damn it.
It takes Kagari a while to figure this out, too, because he doesn't bother to calm until he's down several more levels.
And then he's like, oh, well, fuck. And we eventually find out that, yeah, he has no love or loyalty for the Sybil system at all. He hates it.
Can't
But
blame
he
him,
is
to be honest.
so not down with with the way Makishima's doing shit.
Right. He sees, because he's been on the front line for a lot of the worst shit that's happened has been the result of Makishima's manipulations trying to figure out the Sybil system.
Right.
So he's like, yeah, no, I've seen what you do. I've seen the aftermath. It is terrible. You do not deserve to live through this.
Yeah, the Sybil system is awful and should be brought down. I agree. You guys are doing it completely the wrong way. You are scum and horrible, and you are worse than the Sybil system. And coming from me, that is
lucky. Take each other out, and I'll be there to watch.
that would be his ideal. Because it's like, yeah, you guys are harming people who are completely innocent without any regards, and are making things awful for my friends, and are trying to kill my friends. Fuck you.
I don't have a lot, but I've got friends, and those are important to me.
Because he has this conversation with the hacker, and the hacker dude's like, yeah, don't you want to bring down the Sybil system? And he's like, I have no objection to it being brought down, but not by you people. Not by your methods.
Yeah.
Now, if you bring it down on top of you and crushes you, I'd be okay with that.
That would actually be ideal. That would be awesome.
That would save me a lot of work.
So eventually, Kagari catches up with the hacker in the core of Sybil. And the hacker's just there with his phone, with his camera phone, like, taking videos, like, holy shit, I don't need to do anything. I just need to put this on the net. You guys will tear it down for me.
And Kagari's like, well, fuck. At which point...
At which point, the chief shows up.
Yeah. A heavily wrecked and damaged and bleeding...
Oh, no, she doesn't. She's not wrecked and damaged at first. She shows up, the Dominator chimes that alerts the hacker, who levels his...
That's right.
His super soaker filled with acid, from what I can tell.
Right, that's how it happened. Okay.
Yeah, they've all got low-tech weapons, so like the thugs are running around with nail guns.
Yeah. They're basically improvised weapons, because, well, good luck getting a hold of a real
weapon.
In here.
Yep. So, like, yeah, he basically... So he hits her with the acid, and it's like, and... You hear the Dominator chime, and he turns around and shoots at her, and, yeah, she's a robot.
And then he explodes.
Yeah. Then she points the Dominator and then blows him up.
Now, to be fair, the robot thing caught me off guard, but then I realized, no, it's totally been foreshadowed.
Yep, because we one of the perps earlier on was basically an organ bucket. He was a full conversion cyborg and was advocating this.
We don't see cybernetics too much. I think the only one we really see is Masaoka's got a cybernetic arm.
Right.
Right, and the previous the perp who's doing the whole most dangerous game thing.
Yes, and that's basically him. But we do see that the society is filled with sentient robots and all. Well, not sentient, but well-programmed robots, so to speak.
Yeah, so some very advanced AI, although not true AI.
VI,
No.
really.
Just really good chatbots, effectively.
Well, it's VI.
Essentially,
it's
yeah.
virtual intelligence.
Yeah.
So they'll they've got a chat parameters and all that sort of stuff, but and they'll deal with the public, and this is why the police force is so small, because 90% of it's done by drones.
Right.
Yep.
And additionally, there's a lot, like, everyone seems to have, like, cybernetic implants in their head to allow them to, directly, like, for instance, like, it's what allows the inspectors to directly interface with the Dominators and use them.
Yep. We see a lot of people use it for basically just surfing the net, because they do the whole, like, Gibson, like, full VR dive thing.
Straight up lawnmower man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's a lot more cybernetics in the world than it looks like there is at first, which again makes total sense given the genre.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not overbearing. It's not like this is where
Yeah, you're not seeing anyone with like half their skull replaced with chrome with like giant camera lenses for eyes.
Yeah, it's not Ghost in the Shell.
No, it's much more like traditional, like Cyberpunk 2020 or Shadowrun, where the cyberware just isn't obvious, unless you want it to be.
Right. But at any rate, so then the chief then blows away Kagari.
Yeah,
and everyone is sad.
Puts the Dominator and reads him as like low 200, which is not Executor, and then it switches to
lethal
execution mode anyway.
Yeah, you can tell she basically overrides the gun and pushes it up. And Kagari, God bless him, just looks at it and is like, he sees it happening after the perp's been blown away. And he sees her level the gun at him, and he's like, and it turns into executor mode. He's like, "Oh, give me a break."
But the thing is, it doesn't go it doesn't go into executor mode. It goes into the decomposer mode, specifically to remove all traces of him.
Mm.
Because in the next episode, the chief says that he's escaped. There's no trace of him. He's run away. This is all this is a failure on your people's fault. And it's like
this is clearly the result of your poor supervision.
Your poor supervision, Ginoza. Poor Ginoza.
Yeah, so much shit.
He eats for early on. You're sitting there going, "Yeah, he's an asshole. He deserves. I want to see him get his comeuppance." And then you realize why he's being so obstreperous and exactly how awful his job is because of the chief. You're like, man, it sucks to be him.
Yeah, his job sucks balls.
So
he has to work with the two people that represent his greatest fear.
Right. So while that's happening down the basement, up top we have Ko directly confronting Makishima. And Makishima kicks Ko's ass.
Yeah.
He just because and on the way up to the top, they fight some of the goons that Makishima's brought along, and Akane gets hurt, and she basically says, "Ko, go on ahead. I'll be fine. I'll catch up with you."
Right.
And so
she catches a nail in the leg.
Right, she catches the nail in the leg, and she's busy. She basically pulls the nail out and starts putting on a tourniquet and just sends him on ahead because she's a stone cold badass. It turns out, in her own way. Yeah, she's not as physically dangerous as as Ko is or anything like that. But dear Lord, that is a tough young woman.
Yeah, she has a stubbornness that isn't just like her line of investigation. He's like, oh dear, I've been hurt. Well, I've got a job to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, she's a lot like Ko, just much better at letting shit go.
Yeah, Ko can't let shit go is the thing.
Right. She's a better centered version of him in most ways. She is smart. She is. She at any rate. So Ko and Makishima basically fight. As I said, Makishima's winning the fight, and but Ko's hanging in there because he's fit and tough. But the thing ends with Ko basically on the ground, sort of badly beat up, and is in deep trouble. And Makishima's, I forget exactly what he's doing, but all of a sudden you hear Akane screaming, runs up with one of the blocking helmets, and smacks him upside the head.
Yeah. It's actually a great exchange between Ko and Makishima at the beginning where where Makishima starts quoting a philosopher, at which point Ko responds with, I consider the height of intellectual hygiene to distrust anyone that quotes so-and-so. I forget who it was. And he goes, you just quoted so-and-so at me. Well, it was the obvious choice.
Yeah, let's be fair. And he says, well, to be fair, if you'd have started with that line, I'd have probably quoted the same line in counter. Now, this is the point. Whenever you get Ko and Makishima... Well, actually, they've both got Makishima has the hacker friend up to a point. And Ko's got his old psychology professor.
Right.
That taught him how to read people, all that sort of stuff. And they have these conversations. Now, I consider myself to be intelligent but not well educated. And some of the conversations these guys are having, I'm just like, okay, that's probably a dude. Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm lost here.
I recognize these guys some of the names because I went to art school, but
Gulliver's Travels, I remember that one.
Yeah, I've read good chunks of most of the authors they bring up.
Yeah.
Anytime they delve into sci-fi authors, like, yep, you know that guy, know that particular story you're referencing.
Totally.
When they start going through the
philosopher stuff, I've read about half of them maybe, and I recognize most of the other names.
I recognize the names. It's just like a lot of the actual reading stuff. It's like, well, it's not Kant, so I didn't actually read it.
But yeah, they have these like discourses about trying to figure each other out, and it's like, well, and there's a great little bit where they're having two separate conversations, and the psych professor asks Ko and says, so what would you've met him, you've kind of getting a gist for how he feels. So how would he react in this situation? And he's like, well, to be honest, if you're looking at the situation as it is right now, he'd probably quote Gulliver or something like that than what he said, and not like an episode before. He was quoting Gulliver to another guy.
Yep.
And he was basically explaining the plot of Gulliver's Travels. And it's like, okay, that's a nice little touch to, Ko is getting in this guy's head.
Yep. But yeah, I love the fact that, the way they capture Makishima is Akane just clocking him upside the head.
Yes. Yeah, they've had this awesome,
all your cunning plans are nothing compared to boot to the head.
They had this awesome, duel, trading blows and fucking witty retorts the entire time, and Makishima finally gets the upper hand. He's about to deal the final blow, then bang! Fuck you, sit down.
And so Ko's desperately begging Akane to kill him, and she's just like, no, I've got to arrest him. She comes very close to dealing the blow, and then she's like, I can't, and starts reading him his rights and putting the cuffs on him. It's like. And so Makishima's brought in, and he wakes up in a room with the chief.
Yep.
Who proceeds to explain how things actually work.
Turns out the chief currently is actually Makishima's old friend, the original plastinization
serial killer
culprit.
Yeah. The guy that Ko was obsessed with and wanted to catch.
Right.
Who mysteriously disappeared at the culmination of that case. It was never completely solved, but the perp just vanished.
It was left as an open case, right? That it turns out, as the chief points out, that we actually brought him in, and he will never threaten anyone ever again.
Mm.
Turns out,
that's sort of true. He can't physically threaten anyone ever again.
Yeah, see, it turns out the Sybil system is,
the Sybil system gets around all of that networking issues that mentioned by the hacker by incorporating still living human brains networked together.
Yeah, it's a brain farm.
Yeah.
They needed supercomputers. They used brains.
And specifically criminally crazy people brains.
Yeah.
People Sybil can't read it. It specifically seeks out on the brains of people like that, because if I can't judge you, that means there's something unique about you, so I'll incorporate you into myself.
Yeah. It's extreme personalities is what they call it. The more extreme the personality, the wider range of judgment they've got, and they can then reach a medium consensus.
So basically, Makishima's old friend here in the body of the chief basically says, so you want to join? Get to be in charge of everything. I just be a brain. Yep. Do I have a choice in this? No, but we decided that it would be better if you joined willingly. We can make you, but
we could make you, but we'd really it'd be better. It's better. Everything works better if you join us willingly. It means there's less, less time for you for us to win you over as just a brain, as you have to accept the situation where you're just like it just means that you've accepted all of this, and and you'll have this, and it's just so much better this way.
They start going on about this totally doesn't affect your individuality whatsoever. A brain in a jar. Yeah, but look at me. I'm individual right now, because it turns out the chief, basically the model, is it's a universal avatar. There's multiple versions, and an individual personality mind can be downloaded into it at any given time.
Yeah, it's not even that. They take the whole brain, scoop the brain out of the Sybil form, and stick it in the chief.
Do they?
Yep.
I thought they implied that when the chief sat down in the chair, she had like a ribbon connected to the back.
She
of
does.
her
That's how she can talk with Sybil.
Oh, they communicate back. Yeah. Oh, okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah, because Makishima then proceeds to escape his bonds and murder his former friend inside the chief body by cracking open the skull and smashing the brain.
But yeah,
like they don't show that on screen, but they quite clearly show him like opening up the brain pan and blood spurting out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the important bit is that as they have their conversation, and as the chief is trying to win him over, she lets slip that he's in transit, and he figures out that, oh wait, the way you said that implied that I'm not at the tower, I'm not at the brain farm, I'm not back at place. I'm in transit. That means I can actually escape. Beautiful. I'm now going to kick your ass.
I shall now murder you, crash the Osprey we're flying in, and escape, because I can do that.
Right, now I have to come up with a new plan to crash the Sybil system. Which he does. Which is what leads to, basically, the chief basically saying, okay, fine, fuck it. Okay, well, we've got to bring him in again. Ginoza, you got to bring him in again, and Ko cannot be on the case because he wants to kill Makishima, and we need him alive.
He absolutely must be brought in alive. Ginoza does actually ask why at this point. It's the first time he's ever asked why. It's like, just do it. Your future depends on it. And
so Ginoza comes up with a really clever plan to get Ko out and doing stuff, because they're shorthanded at this point because, Kagari's dead. The chief's saying that he's escaped and they have to hunt him down, which is part of the thing they have to do, in addition to bringing in Makishima, is hunt down Kagari. Despite that the chief knows that it's impossible to hunt down Kagari because he's dead.
Right. You got cooked.
And so she eventually actually said, yeah, we'll put Division 2 on hunting down Kagari. You guys can just handle Makishima. And like Ginoza's like, well, we're shorthanded. We really, really need to have Ko on this because he's the one who understands Makishima the best. And wait, I've got a plan. All right, we're shorthanded, so we need another enforcer. And Ko can't be on the case. Fine, we will trade Ko temporarily with an enforcer from Division 2. Therefore, Ko will be on that case hunting down Kagari and totally won't be working on taking down Makishima. Totally. No, that would never happen. Unfortunately, the chief figures this out.
Yeah, the chief puts two and two together pretty quickly because
brain farm.
But the thing is, she's having absolutely zero of this shit and takes it to a fucking level.
Right. So she walks out and basically tells him to say no, bring him back in. No, okay, he's a loose wolf. I know he's trying to run things here. I'm overriding your Dominator to make it shoot lethally to Ginoza. So yeah, pull the trigger. Go ahead. Ginoza's sitting there going, at which point Akane just shoots Paralyzer mode on Ko.
At which point she does the really smart thing. His crime coefficient wasn't over 300, so clearly Paralyzer mode is required. Your Dominator is malfunctioning. You should bring it in.
Because, as always, Akane is awesome. Akane is awesome and very smart.
And she said it with exactly the tone like, I know exactly what the fuck you just tried to do. Don't pull that shit in front of me.
Yeah, even the chief looks at her, she's like, okay, bitch.
which is what leads the Sybil system at this point, because to basically bring Akane in, and she basically she's sitting in her office, alone, because at this point, Ko has decided, fuck it, I'm leaving.
Yeah, Ko goes rogue.
Basically,
more so than
before he
usual.
decides to go, before all this happens, basically, Akane basically tells him, look, just promise to always be a detective, don't be a murderer. And he basically says, fine, yes, I promise you I will do that. And then this happens. He's like, well, I clearly am not allowed to be that, so fuck it, I'm going rogue. Sorry, Akane. I like you, kid, but
yeah, no, I'm killing this motherfucker.
he's got to go.
It's clearly the only way it's going to happen.
And so, yeah, he runs off with some assistance from Pops.
Yep.
And this is what leads the chief to basically the Sybil system basically to show up. Basically, it basically sends the cart with the Dominators to Akane and basically gives her one of them and basically starts talking to her and says, "Look, I'm going to tell you the truth now. The whole Sybil system is now going to tell you the whole truth." And my reaction when she said that is, "Oh yeah, she's going to totally leave something out." No, actually, it didn't.
Yep.
It totally told her literally the whole fucking truth. It brought her to the brain farm and tells her everything.
Because the Sybil system's very good at reading people. It knew Ko was going to kill Makishima. It knew Akane was going to react the way she would, which is with revulsion and hatred, but with the understanding that she doesn't have another better solution.
Right. It's like, you see, I know you're not going to reveal the truth about me because that would cause me to be shut down and society would cease to function, to be worse. I know you know that. And you won't do that. And Akane's like, I hate you so much for being right. I hate you so much for being what you are, and I hate you even more for being right about that. Fuck! And she has a wonderful line talking to Sybil at one point where she says, someday humans will figure out how to make a better society without you, and then someday someone will walk here and turn you off. And
then Sybil system laughs with 1,000 voices.
Yes. And the thing is,
Pretty much, yeah.
Because the Sybil system is basically trying to conscript Akane. It's one of the reasons it's doing this is so it can figure out how to, if it can bring Akane around to its side completely, it can bring anybody around.
Yep.
And at that point, it can reveal what it is.
They do state that that's their intention by the end of it. They want to actually, the system will only be complete when it's fully accepted for what it is by the populace.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, that's its end. That is the system's end goal. Like, clearly we cannot reveal ourselves now, but that's only a short-term solution.
And Akane's this isn't you and your your sense of self-preservation won't let you reveal this and make yourself expendable. And Akane's comment is, I love the way she phrases it because she says, it's yes, I can't die when I still have actual hope for humanity to pull through this this sort of thing right now, the way things are right now. And it's like, I like that about her. It's not so much. It's not that it's not a selfish self-preservation purely.
Yeah.
Which I think is again telling about who Akane is. At any rate, yeah, the final confrontation. We won't go into the details of exactly what Makishima's plan. It's worth watching the show just to watch both Ko and the rest of the crew figure it out as it goes along. And at least the big confrontation between our heroes and Makishima.
Yep. Although I will say I thought it was really funny where he goes to Ko goes to a psychologist friend to figure it out, and he's like, yeah. So I set this up as a thought experiment on a foreign server. There are foreign servers accessible from Japan. You find out Japan's also completely sealed its borders.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah. So yeah, I had them run it as a thought experiment on this forum. It's like, shit. Okay. All of these are ridiculous. Okay, so pick the funniest one. Why would I pick the funniest one? Because you two have exactly the same sense of humor. Okay, this one's pretty funny.
Yep. So yeah, Yeah, actually, it's worth mentioning exactly what his plan is, just because of the implications and why it's his plan.
Yeah,
Because
this is
his
how we
plan
find
is
out.
basically, it turns out Japan is part of the reason Japan can be completely closed borders and not communicate or do any trade with the outside world, so that the civil system can work. Because if the rest of the world saw what Japan was doing, they go fuck.
Yeah,
Is because they are completely autonomous at this point, including they don't need to import food at all for their large population, because it turns out they've come all the 99% of the food in Japan is based on this super oats stuff that they can grow. 99% of the food in Japan is based upon one single crop.
Yeah, which we at the time we all went, holy fuck!
well, that's
that
a
is
giant security hole.
That
And then
is
we
a
worked it out.
terrible system.
And then we
then
worked out, no, that actually makes sense. Population density, and no, that actually makes sense.
It is a logical chain. It is the end of a logical chain of assumptions. If you want to make Japan self-sufficient in terms of food, and you want to, and you need to keep the amount of the population density that Japan has, because there's just not much farmland there. So if you a grain that you can grow that produces ridiculous amounts of crops and is moddable into other foods, yeah, that makes total sense. I'm surprised they didn't choose soy though. Seriously, I'm shocked it wasn't soy. At any rate,
honestly, because soy is kind of cliche for cyberpunk.
It is, I know, but there's a reason it's cliche, Eric. It's just the logical crop for it because it is a high protein base. At any rate, so Makishima comes with a plan to cripple, the production, basically to ruin this crop, which it'll lead to food shortages, which will lead to Japan being forced to open its borders, which will lead to the
civil system will not be able to maintain under, because too many foreign influences means too many people going, what the fuck have you guys been doing for the past however many decades?
Right. So yeah, it's a brilliant plan.
Yeah.
It's honestly a better plan than his. Well, it wouldn't have come up with this plan until he actually knew what the true nature of the civil system was, which he didn't figure out until his previous plan happened.
But it's a really good plan.
It's a horrible plan, also.
Yeah, because it involves
mass
damning
starvation.
However many thousands or millions to die of starvation before the borders finally open up.
Yeah, and the rioting from the food riots.
The food riots.
Oh my god! And how the civil system's going to have to react to shutting down the riots. And, oh my god, it'd be awful.
Yeah, a lot of people will die, but the end result is the end of the civil system.
Right.
And Japan being an open society again.
Yep. Yeah, it's a very Project Mayhem answer. Tell me I'm wrong, Eric.
Oh, you're not wrong.
At any rate, so Akane's basically Ko's been figured this out is ahead on them, and Akane's basically the civil system's basically told her flat out, you're you're getting in your own way in way of your own talents, grow the fuck up, and Akane basically takes that to heart, and she's like, yeah, fuck it. I have to find a way in order to. Because basically, she makes a deal with the civil system. It's like, okay, here, I'm willing to help you out in the situation and bring. You need me to be my absolute best and to be focused and do all the things in order to bring Makishima alive. As you want him alive, fine. I'm willing to do that, despite the fact all my reservations and my loathing of you, on one condition: if we can bring him in alive, you rescind the kill order on Ko. And the civil system's like,
fine.
Great.
Okay, now I need you to lock this Dominator in Paralyzer mode. I can't do that.
I know you can. I know you can.
I watched you override it before. But the Dominator, the whole point of the Dominator is it makes the snap decision for us, and undoing that, by locking it in that way, we completely remove that form of control. You've already done that by telling me all this stuff. So what's fine? Shut up. I hate your logic train. You out-logic the brain farm. Shut up.
She makes even one more point. Also, we need a weapon. We need some way to take down Makishima alive, and we are the Dominator is completely incapable of targeting him.
Yeah,
Well,
and civil response with, well, if he does, then it's a result of your own lack of resources. Ah, but we are only human and infinitely fallible.
and Sybil's just like, I hate you. I think I hate you almost as much as you hate me. God damn it! That's what I love Akane so much.
Yeah, she's great.
And she's done this so that she has a tool. Not only I know for a fact she's using it. She's done this not just as she has a tool to Makishima, but as a way to bring down Ko if need be.
Yep. No, clearly that was her cunning plan.
Yep. See, no, I paralyzed Ko, paralyzed Makishima. Day is saved. So yeah, basically she's basically doing the detective stuff that Ko normally does, and basically at roughly the same speed Ko is, with the one limitation is that she doesn't understand Makishima as well as Ko does.
Yep.
It leads to her one
step behind because she's drawing. Okay, what would Ko do?
right, and she makes one mistake that has a significant cost. So basically, they get to the the farm plant thing, and so they cut the power and go in, and she's like, okay. What would Makishima do here? Well, how would Ko handle this? Okay, Makishima would probably go for the control systems to reboot shit, the auxiliary power systems. But there's a chance he'll go down here. So, Ginoza, you, and Pops go down there. Us other two will go to the computer's place, the auxiliary power station. So the two of them go there, and this is where they have their little discussion about like I misread you completely bit. They arrive there, and like Makishima's not there, and neither Makishima nor Ko are there, and so the unfortunate lady's like, well, where's everybody? Why is nobody here? And she's I love Akane's reaction. She's like, wait, you're right, he's not here. Well, I know Makishima's not here, so no, not him. Ko's not here. If this was the most likely place Makishima would go, then Ko would have been here before us. Oh fuck, Ginoza is in serious danger. I love her reasoning on that. Just like,
yep.
Oh. And this leads to basically, Makishima confronting Ginoza and Pops. And basically, he managed to knock over some crates on top of Ginoza, pinning his arm.
Right.
And then Pops goes in after Makishima and kicks his sorry ass.
Yes, Pops is awesome.
And gets him in a chokehold with his cybernetic, because he's got a cybernetic arm and knows how to fucking use it. Yep. It's like Makishima starts shooting like...
I'm going to say shooting nails at him, and he's like, nope, he's fucking Wonder Woman at that point.
Yeah. He gets him in a chokehold with the cyber arm. It's like, yeah, you can pull that all day. It doesn't get tired. It's a robot.
At which point, Makishima pulls out a grenade, and Pop's like,
not
dude,
even really a grenade, just a pipe bomb.
Right, and Pop's like, dude, you're not going to blow yourself up. I know you're not going to blow yourself up.
And I'm not going to blow myself up.
And he looks pointedly over at Ginoza, and Ginoza's like, look, dude, don't let him go. It's okay if I die here. We got to bring him in. Do not, you do not dare. Don't you dare. At which point Makishima throws the grenade.
Let his son die, so...
Right, he throws the grenade, and of course, Pops goes, well, I've got to save... Just instinctively, I've got to save my son. Runs over, basically grabs the bomb, tosses it there, and it goes off, taking him out. And Makishima escapes, and Ginoza pulls himself out from underneath the box in a very painful manner.
Yeah. He's probably going to lose the arm. Like, he doesn't leave it behind, but it's flopping
wrecked.
it's flopping around like a loose sock.
Yeah. And
made of meat.
And blood's dripping from it. It's just, ugh. And, he goes up and it, like, begs, Pops, why? And he's like, dude, I'm your father. And what's so good about being a detective? Being a detective is a terrible, stupid, awful thing. I'm your father, goddammit. And, that's, Pops passes away, and it fucking sucked. But made sense. Because, the film noir detective who was clearly doomed from the outset was doomed. I mean...
Yes. Oh my god, shock surprise.
But Ko shows up and like seeing all this, and he's like, and he sees Pop's dead and Ginoza wrecked, and he's like, oh fuck this asshole. And so they have their big confrontation. Ko basically starts shooting at him, and eventually Makishima disarms him. They pull out, Ko pulls out the knife he's brought with him. Makishima pulls out his straight edge razor he's been using the whole series.
Yep.
Fight continues. They each hurt each other. Ko gets a really good stab in on Makishima, but they both end up disarmed. Makishima walks up to the Ko's gun that he's knocked out, pulls it out, points it at Ko. It's a revolver. Pulls the trigger. Click.
God damn it!
Which is when
No, that's
Akane
Akane. That's after. No, the gun thing happens after Akane shows up, breaks up the fight.
Right.
Yeah, because Akane steals the gun to make that impossible shot.
Right.
Right, that's it. Yes.
Makishima gets away.
That's right. She has the gun. She basically she shows up to confront the both of them. I forget what it is that causes.
She does it with one of the ion pulse grenades.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. She shows up and launches one of the ion pulse grenades, sort of knocking things for a loop.
But essentially, it's acted like a massive flashbang. So
right.
It was designed to stop them from killing each other. But in the confusion, Makishima escapes.
Right. And like he's stuck into a truck, tries to back over the two of them, starts driving away. Ko's like, okay, well, Ko's in a lot of pain. He's like, oh fuck, what's going? Where's Akane? She's hanging on the back of the motherfucking truck with his pistol.
Because she's awesome.
Well, yeah, because she made him swap. She made him take the Dominator that's locked in.
Right, to go out. So, yeah, this way,
you
can take down. You can shoot him, and he'll go down. It's locked in paralyzer mode, and he's like, "Fuck."
Fine, I guess.
And Akane then, she basically proceeds to shoot the front tire out of the truck that
They make a point of showing what a hard shot that is, too.
Yes. And the truck crashes. She's lying there going, ow, this fucking sucks. Makishima gets out of the truck, picks up the pistol, aims at her, pulls the trigger, click. He's like, motherfucker.
And it has at least made that point throughout the entire, every time we've seen that gun, one of the main things they've done is shown Ko basically getting familiar with it by reloading, emptying, reloading, emptying, reloading. And every time, it's a 6-shot revolver. There are 6 shots in this gun.
He fired 5 before Akane fired the one take up the tire.
Yeah, they make a point of that.
They actually tracked the number of bullets. It was really well done. And so Ko basically shows up, sees Akane basically out on the ground, basically out, picks up the revolver, reloads it, and goes after Makishima.
Yeah, because, you hurt Akane, and, that's just not allowed.
Also, this was his plan the whole time anyways. And it's like,
right.
He was willing to, it's like, okay, if Akane can bring him in alive, and then fine. If things can go her way, then fine. I'm willing to accept that. But boy, I'll be happier if it doesn't. Oh, I get to kill the asshole. And eventually he catches up with the badly injured, bleeding out. He stabbed Makishima pretty deep.
Yeah.
Because he's been bleeding the whole time. And he basically... Makishima's out of steam when Ko comes up behind him. And he's just sort of lying there waiting for Ko to kill him.
I never could imagine a possibility where you weren't the one to kill me.
Yep. And Ko kills him. And that's basically where the show sort of ends. Sort of.
Yeah.
We get a bit of a coda, basically.
It picks up about 2 months later.
Yeah, where we find out that Ginoza has in fact become a latent criminal and is now an enforcer. Akane is now running Division 1.
Yep.
Despite the fact she knows, and she knows the secret of the Sybil system. This is where the Sybil has the whole thing where it tells her, basically, if I can win you over, then great. And that's one of the reasons I'm keeping you around. And she's basically like, yeah, God, I hope I live long enough to see humanity shut you down. That is what she's living for at this point, is to live
Yep.
long enough to see that happen. And she believes, she genuinely hopes that it will happen.
But she genuinely believes that it will happen.
Right. And she's willing to
like-
live. Her sense of self-preservation will last as long as she has hope that will happen, basically. And given who Akane is, that'll last until she dies of natural causes or someone kills her.
Yep.
And I'm leaning towards the former being how she passes away, honestly. And, we see a bit of Ko off on his own, I think on a boat somewhere, hiding out.
Yeah, he's fucked off somewhere.
Yeah.
And
it hints that he's not gone far, but he's gone far enough that Sybil can't get a hold of him.
right
Yeah.
at the moment. And we end with the arrival of a new rookie inspector to joining Division 1, and it's a beautiful mirror of the beginning of the show where Akane shows up and meets Ginoza, and it's this new rookie who I think is one of the girls from the Girls' Academy, actually.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. So the girl that was copycatting the plastic killer, she was an all-girls academy, and this is why people said she wasn't as clever or as original as the first killer, because she was basically killing girls around her. She had that whole preserving beauty shtick. So
Right.
she was killing the prettiest girls to keep them beautiful as part
Well, she's
of their
also
artwork.
trying to create art, also, despite the
She
Yeah.
was trying to recreate her
Father's
father's
father's art, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
recreate her father's art. Except he was a painter whose goal behind his grotesque surrealist stuff was to make people confront their demons so they can have greater peace in the long run. Well, she's just doing it because I like stabbing girls.
But yeah, it gets to the point where so many girls have gone. There's this one girl that's basically, she's next on the list. All of her friends have been taken. She's next, and she's the one that that everything gets solved before it's her turn.
Well, she also basically told one of her friends to go talk to the girl who's actually turned out to be the killer, because
Yeah.
this girl knew a lot of the people that disappeared, and it's
Right.
they all hung out with her at some point. Maybe she knows something, and she seems to like you.
And not know something suspicious, like maybe someone has told her something that they're not telling the people at large. Maybe we can find out some information that way.
And so
Because of
after-
course she's not a suspicious character. She's still at the school. She's still this whatchamacallit. She's still at the school. They would have caught some of the high clouded psychopaths, wouldn't they?
Yeah. So yeah, and she actually has a freak out when she realizes that she told her friend to go to her, and that's led to her death.
Yep.
And she basically freaks out, and if I remember, it was Akane who basically comforted her, if I remember correctly.
I think so. Yeah.
And so it's her showing up, becoming Akane's new junior investigator.
Yeah.
And Akane gives a very, very similar speech to the one Ginoza gives her about the enforcers and their job, with minor tweaks that are so huge.
Yeah. She specifically says, "You're about to meet the enforcers. The enforcers are they're latent criminals, but they're people just like us.
They're humans
Something
just
that
like us.
Ginozo left out.
Yeah.
He
No,
specifically
Ginoza-
says they're not like us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he actually said the opposite. They're not like us. They always
They're just hunting dogs for us.
Yeah.
He
The
dehumanizes
the
them.
one reference they make all the time is that the enforcers are hunting dogs.
Yep. Yeah, no, he very explicitly dehumanizes them, whereas Akane explicitly humanizes them.
Yes.
She also points out that they're dangerous, and you should trust them, but be careful around them.
Right.
Because they aren't, they are human just like us, but they are different. That's not a bad thing, but you should be careful. It's a wonderful little mirror of his speech, and it's really well done. And that's where season 1 ends.
I really like this show.
Yep. Yeah, we'll get into our final thoughts on it, but I will say, from what Eric said, when Eric talked about the show, he said we're not going to watch season 2, and season 2 is not as good as season 1. I can really easily see exactly where this show could stick its head up its own ass and screw everything up.
Yeah.
And I sort of have the same reaction to the finding out there's a season 2 of the show after having watched season 1. that I had to finding out there were going to be sequels being made of the Matrix, which was why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well,
honestly,
dude, they're making a sequel to Blade Runner because God hates me specifically.
that's another one. It's like, why? It's a self-contained story that doesn't, like, yes, there are questions that could be answered, but they don't need
It costs
answering.
money.
Because
like-
Ridley Scott's going back to the well of his old best work because he's got nothing else.
Apparently. But yeah, like, seriously, as much as, like, I could totally envision there being a second season of Psychopaths being good, I also look at it and go, I'm just not sure why you need to. It doesn't need to be continued. It's told its story. Literally the only story of interest that I really think you could tell going forward, honestly, is the sort of the ongoing conflict between the civil system and Akane. And I'm not sure that's enough. That's a story that needs to be told, because it having that be a definitive story and a definitive answer to that sort of undoes a lot of these sort of questions that the show, raises. And it's like, I mean, the thing is, like, yes, it's obvious. Akane's right, the civil system's wrong. I mean, that's like,
Yeah.
it's a dystopia. If you don't think this is a dystopia, pay attention. Yes, there are elements of that look utopian on the outside. That's the point.
Yeah, that any good dystopia looks like a utopia from the most obvious angles. Unless you're talking George Orwell, who is a great writer, but the man's man's subtle as a brick. Of course, his stories wouldn't work if you were subtle.
But no, that's the whole point Orwell's trying to do. He's not trying to be subtle.
Yeah. He's trying to beat it into your head because he's aware that people would go, "Oh, this is awesome. We should totally build a society like this."
No, stop it!
Oh, you are missing the point.
How many people think Tyler Durden is the hero in Fight Club?
Way too many. Jesus fucking Christ. There's a reason I made that reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, definitively, the whole point of the show is Makishima is a villain. Yes, he's trying to bring down the civil system, which is a bad, awful thing that needs to be destroyed.
down.
But again, it's his goals his goal may be admirable. His methodology is horrific,
Yeah.
and methodology matters.
Well, it's the argument. Well, the same sort of context we were going through. The list of characters like Tyler Durden and all the rest of it, and the people that think the Punisher is a hero.
Well, the Punisher is kind of a hero from the. He's an anti-hero. He's there to.
Okay, sorry. The way we put it was the Punisher is a good. That Frank Castle is a good man.
Oh no, he's a terrible man.
Yeah,
That's part of what makes him an interesting protagonist. He's a terrible person.
Yes, or the people who try to defend, say that Light Yagami is the hero of Death Note.
Yeah.
Or that Gordon Gekko was the hero of Wall Street.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Yes, no, Light Yagami's the villain of Death Note. He's the villain protagonist of Death Note. L is the heroic antagonist of Death Note. And then Nier and What's His Bucket are L's legacy, kind of. They're I'm still bitter about the second half of Death Note.
Yeah.
Because it could have been brilliant, but Nier and What's His Bucket just don't work as well as L does.
No.
At any rate, we shouldn't talk about that right now. So I guess we're into sort of final thoughts on Psychopaths. We'll leave Eric to last since it's his recommendation, as
Sure.
is tradition. So why don't you start, Gav?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. It's a sort of show we haven't really done, where it is this, intellectual, brain words. 2 a.m. Intellectual.
It's a smart making show.
It is a smart making show with big words. But yeah, like you said, it's it's got that level of action along with it. It's good for the brain. It's good for the body, so to speak. It's got a level of action, a level of gore that's never excessive, but is, like I say, it's an exclamation point on what's going on. It makes you think. The characters develop organically. Even the things that we're saying, wait, what the fuck? The second we actually stopped and thought about it, then, oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay, continue, show. Yeah, it's one I'll be honest with you, it's one I've never heard of, but yeah, I can see why Eric would recommend this. I would now recommend this. I probably on recommendation probably not going to touch season 2 because, like Peter says, I can't see where this story goes now, other than some convoluted story where it's the whole waiting for the Sybil to be uncovered is replaced by Akane going fucking Rambo and trying to do it herself, with Ko showing up because of course he does, and some other convoluted bullshit. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys couldn't tell from when I was talking, I love this show. I really, really like this show. It hit a lot of my buttons that I really like. I'm a big fan of cyberpunk in general, from cyberpunk fiction specifically. Philip K. Dick is one of my favorite writers. Gibson's also very good, and I also fucking admire Orwell to no end. Who are totally not influences on the show whatsoever. Nope, not at all.
No, not in the least bit. Not that they hang a lantern on it.
Yeah. It's a smart show. It has a lot of really good characters. I love the art style. And the animation is usually very good. I'll let Eric talk more about that since he's more into that. But the dialogue in the show is so crisp. And it's all believable from the characters. Like, I can't think of any time when characters said something that was out of character when it wasn't intentionally out of character.
Yeah, there's no exposition dump from
right.
people who shouldn't be dumping.
Yeah, the show's very good at show don't tell.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. It is rare to see a show that's actually as good that actually sticks with show don't tell as much as the show does. Like every now and then it lapses into some exposition. Usually from the point of view of it's both times it happens I can think of are when Makishima and his hacker buddy are talking about what they're doing.
Yep.
And why, but it's almost not show not tell about what they're doing, but about why they're doing it. And we've had a lot of things shown to us about why they're doing it also. So it's just reinforcing why them saying is reinforcing what we've seen. Additionally, they also sort of talk about how they figured out where they're going, and we haven't, since they're not the protagonist of the story. I understand why we haven't focused on them seeing them actually coming up with the mechanisms of finding out where to go to find out the information they're finding out. I get that, and we instead sort of see the chain of people doing the investigation, finding out the chain to where they're going from the law enforcement side. Which, again, since they're our viewpoint characters, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
So I'm generally, the writing in the show is really good, and yeah, as I said, I actually might watch season 2 at some point just to satisfy my curiosity. Why the fuck did they do this? But I know it's gonna make me sad.
Yeah, watch season 2 just to draw your own conclusions. I was not impressed by it.
Yeah, but I really don't. I don't feel like having watched it, like knowing that it's there. I don't feel it's not one of those shows where I feel like a pressing need to watch more because, oh my god, I must watch more of this. It's like, this show is great. I loved it. I don't need more of it because the story is done. Like, yeah, they're unanswered questions, but they're the sort of unanswered questions that I'm happy to spend time sitting there thinking about them and postulating on my own, as opposed to needing to see more of it being told. And I think that the fact that they managed to do a 22-episode series that is that self-contained and conclusive for itself is great. I love it when they can when people are able to do that. And the fact that they continue to sort of makes me sort of go, but why? Oh well. But yeah, watch season 1. It's totally worth it. It's really good. That's on you, Eric. Then.
All right, so I really like this show. I've been craving rewatching it for a while. The reason why it didn't show up on my list earlier is because Peter and I like a lot of the same things for very different reasons, but there have been times where it's one of us has really liked something, but missed something that would drive the other mad. So I'm like, there's got to be something in here that drive Peter mad. Either that or he's going to love the show. Fuck it, we'll do Psychopaths this time. I really enjoy this show. The animation is, well, it's not stellar. It's always good. There are never any dips in quality. It never really goes like completely balls to the wall either. It doesn't really need to because the strength of the writing is so strong, and like great characters, really intelligently well designed. Like the world building is amazing in this show, and a lot of show don't tell. A lot of giving you examples and letting you extrapolate things out yourself. Important information is dropped organically. Like rarely is there a giant exposition dump. We find out it's easy to see that Japan's a closed system, and it doesn't drop that on us until it becomes important to the plot. Where it outright states it, that would force us to bring in. It doesn't say, and Japan's a closed country. It says, well, that would force us to open the borders to import food. Like really intelligently done way of reinforcing, yeah, it's a closed system. And yeah, I really like this show. It's very, very Dickensian. The show itself describes it as such, and it's not wrong.
Eric, I want to say describing it as Dickensian is not entirely accurate.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. I was thinking my favorite author named Dick, not what everyone else thinks.
not the one that the term was coined for, Eric.
Yeah, not Charles Dickens, Philip K. Dick.
Although
sorry.
there is actually some Dickens elements in here, actually.
Yeah, fair enough.
There is some of the sort of style of social commentary that Dickens would actually probably nod and smile at.
Yeah. But a big it's very firmly entrenched in the cyberpunk genre and uses that to tell its story. But yeah, if you're looking for it, you're going to see influences from pretty much every major cyberpunk story ever. Yeah. From Neuromancer to Blade Runner to Ghost in the Shell to Akira, it's all there. You will see the influences.
Like I said, I was kind of put off. Not put off, but I was kind of worried at the start that it was going to be a cheap version of one of those already. But no, it treads the fine line, but it's definitely influenced by, but not a copy of.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So yeah, totally recommend the show. It's one of the smarter shows we've done here.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I really dig it. I have nothing bad to say about the show. And it could so easily have crawled up its own ass.
Oh, Lordy.
And become stupid. Or one of the big risks it takes just turn out wrong. But no, it managed to stick the landing on everything it does.
Yep. I think I said early on when we were watching this, the degree of difficulty this show is going for is very high.
Yeah.
And it clears the bar. It does not trip over itself. It does not fall flat on its face. It sticks the landing.
It doesn't crawl up its own ass.
No. No, it does not. You could argue that it might not be quite as smart as it thinks it is. But it's not to the degree that is infuriating.
Yeah, I mean, it's not ergo proxy.
Okay, I'll take your word on that one.
Ergo proxy has a lot of great ideas, but it is firmly wedged up its own ass.
At any rate, I think that is going to do it for this episode, though. So yeah, we all loved the show. We all highly recommend Psychopaths Season 1. If you decide after watching you really want to watch Season 2, from what I understand, it's not terrible. It's just disappointing.
Season 2 isn't bad. It's just that it doesn't stick as many landings as the first.
It has a lot to live up to.
Yeah, it's got a lot to live up to is the problem. If I had seen Season 2 first, I'd be like, oh, this is fine. Oh, there's a previous season. I will watch that too.
Right. So, yeah. Yeah, make up your own mind on that. But the first season's eminently worth watching. Other than that, I think that's going to do it for this time. For next time, Gav, it is your choice this time. What are we watching next, Gav?
Well, considering we've done something so intellectual and brainy, I was going to make a joke about doing Keijo instead, but fuck it, no. We're going to do body horror. We kept a coin for this. And, there's a couple in my mind, and the coin decided we are going with Parasite next.
So,
made a big deal of it a few years ago. It got a live-action version. But, we're going to watch the anime and see what we think.
Okay, excellent. This is sounds like another thing that Eric might have recommended at some point.
Undoubtedly.
Parasite's has been on my radar to watch for a while and just haven't gotten around to it.
Eric hasn't seen it
Well,
yet.
similar. I mean, I watched it myself. I'll be honest with you, I watched it myself probably about 3 or 4 months ago. So it's still fresh in my mind. So we'll go through it again. But yeah, I have a feeling Eric will love it. Peter may question a few of the parts in it, but yes, we'll go from there.
Yeah, it's not been on my list of things I particularly have been seeking out. So it'll be interesting. Anyways, until next time, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys next time. Oh, right. And this is we record the show Mondays after we finish the series. We're going to be this recording goes up on YouTube roughly about a day after the recording, and will then also go up onto Podcast Garden and iTunes. So if you're listeners, iTunes, please give us ratings and feedback and rate and comment. It's actually helpful.
We need your validation.
Give us fake internet points.
Yes,
yes, fake internet points. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. But yeah, seriously, if you give ratings and comments, then we can actually get feedback and make the show better. That's always good. We like that.
Yes.
Anyways, see you guys next time. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.